Yo, what's going on, everybody? So, I wanted to hop on here today and tell you guys the story of a guy I once knew who was a pathological liar who took it to the extreme. I've run into a handful of these people throughout my life, just like everybody else, but I actually had a close relationship with a guy who impulsively lied, and it dissipated over the years. I no longer talk to him, but I'm not happy about that because when he wasn't lying, he was actually a really good guy. My friends liked him, he was funny, he was enjoyable to be around. But eventually he took things so far that he lost his job and all his friends. Now, when I met the guy, we were still kids, like young teenagers in high school, right? And he hung out with us. I brought him around our friend group, actually. It was me who introduced him because I think I met him in a class or something. And like right out the gate, I knew the guy lied about some things. I knew he bullshitted, but it wasn't too frequent. It was here and there. And when he did lie, it wasn't like really anything important and it wasn't anything that bothered anybody. It was like really dumb shit. Like he saved his brother from a shark attack once on vacation, or he plays on a professional gaming team in his spare time. Just like really dumb, childish lies, right? Where you'd be like, haha, yeah, okay, buddy, for sure. Maybe it was just like my immaturity and my younger age that allowed me to brush it off with ease. It didn't really bother me. I don't know, I guess I had the energy to deal with it. Now, as we got older, the lying became more frequent and it wasn't really childish anymore. He would lie about things that affected other people's lives or just harshed the vibe, made it awkward. And one time I was hanging out with one of my buddies in his backyard, hanging out with his parents who I hadn't seen in a while. We were having some drinks, catching up, and the guy who lies, he showed up. He came to hang out. Now, my buddy's parents had never met this person before, so, they didn't know anything about him. And of course, he was just lying through his teeth. And I could tell by the expression on their face and the way they were responding to things he said that they knew they were getting bullshitted. I mean, it was evident. Some of the things this guy was saying to them was crazy. He was telling them he's like a professional bow hunter who prefers to use a bow over a gun, and he knows how to track animals and be dead silent and all this crazy shit, right? Mind you, this guy's like pushing 400 pounds. I don't even know. Probably never even been in the woods. My buddy's dad's a mechanic, and he was telling some stories about crazy shit that happened, in this garage he runs. And of course, the guy who lies has to take over the conversation, become the center of attention, starts talking about how his dad is a mechanic, but he works on these crazy foreign cars, $1 million cars, and he has an unruly salary because he's one of the only mechanics in Canada that knows how to work on these specific vehicles. And it's just like, buddy, I know your dad. He's like a heavy machine operator. Like, what are you doing? He even told us he has this like rare gold coin in the bank that was passed down generation after generation, and it's accumulated to like millions of dollars at this point, and he's going to retire on it. It's just like exhausting. I don't know. He just kept taking over the conversation and killing it. Everybody was getting sick of it, and it kind of ruined the vibe entirely. It ruined the night, and I hadn't seen these people in many years. He eventually leaves. The parents are just like, who was that? Why do you guys hang out with him? They were like dumbfounded by his behavior. And me and my other friend were kind of explaining like, yeah, he was really bad tonight, but sometimes he's not like that. Sometimes he's like chill, he's normal, he's good, right? So this is kind of like the battle we were always stuck in. It was a 50-50 whether we were going to get the normal fun guy to hang out with or if we were going to get the guy who was just going to bullshit, want to be center of attention, ruin the vibe guy. A clear sign of pathological lying is pushing the boundary farther and farther, seeing if you can get away with it, pushing your luck. I don't know if it gives them like a dopamine hit that nobody's going to call them out, but I noticed this guy start to do this when he was making things up about other people while they were around. He did this to me one time. We were hanging out with a larger group of friends and he had the stage. He was telling everybody this story about this supposed party me and him went to, this chaotic night we had where I got like blacked out and he had to deal with me, and it was a whole mess, right? So he's telling this, and I'm standing directly beside him, and I know from start to finish of this story, it's 100% fabricated. This night never happened. This party never happened, right? It was all a lie, and this became a trend where he would make stuff up and include people in his lies that were present, within earshot, like they could hear what he was talking about, and he was still lying about them on their name. The reason I didn't call him out is because I hadn't seen these people in a while. I was probably visiting back from school, only had a few hours or whatever to hang out with them. I didn't really want to like start a conflict or like make it awkward. This guy would also change his entire personality based on who he was hanging out with. So when I first met him, I was like, damn, this guy's got the same interests as me, same sense of humor. We like the same games. He's a cool guy. It's why we became friends. But looking back now, I'm pretty sure he just like adopted my entire character to ensure a friendship. Later down the line, he did this with other people, but there's this one specific time with another guy we hung out with where he really changed his whole personality. Like, I mean, everything. I came back from school, I was hanging out, and I was like, damn, okay. Like, this guy's a whole new dude because he was trying to be like really close friends with this other guy we hung out with. He switched up his whole life, and they became like pretty close friends for about a year. They even worked together in this kitchen. Now, the dude who lies all the time, started doing the same thing with his coworkers at this place, lying all the time, making up shit. Well, it escalated to the point where he was lying to them about like him and my other friend when they would close down the restaurant, things they would do like smoke weed or steal booze from the kitchen or make themselves food. Just all this stuff that wasn't happening. Well, the boss, caught wind of the stories, called them both into the office. There was a whole scene, but they both ended up being let go. Well, my friend who got fired, who doesn't lie, obviously freaked out on the dude saying, "You're a fucking liar. I'm done putting up with this." Told the rest of us what happened. And the guy figured out like the rest of us were aware of the situation. And he freaked out because it was the first time he was being confronted about his behavior. And we were acknowledging the fact that like, hey, we know you do this, right? I guess in his mind, he was always getting away with it. Well, he just went radio silence. And instead of being a man and dealing with it, he just came back eventually months later saying he had a mental break. It wasn't his fault. He has medication now. He just played the feel bad for me card instead of like confronting it. You might be listening to this video thinking I'm crazy. Why did I put up with this? Cut him off, all this shit, right? And I kind of eventually did. I'm getting to that. But for a while, I don't know. I really didn't care. I don't know. I guess I just thought he would grow out of it. Now, the real kicker was months after the whole firing thing went down, we were having a big party at one of my friend's houses, and I'm not sure who invited this guy or how he heard about it, right? But the guy who lies all the time, he showed up. And if this guy's not really getting attention and nobody's, talking to him, he'll do anything to get it. So he's being all like pouty, sad boy vibes, hoping people will come up to him and be like, "What's wrong?" Right? Like one of those guys. He would be the kid when you were younger to fake an injury in practice. So I know well enough to like leave this alone. I'm not going anywhere near him. I'm not biting. I'm not asking. Well, eventually I start noticing that he's like pulling people aside. Like maybe 3 or 4 people at a time and him are going to another room. Then they're coming back 10 minutes later and their vibes are kind of off. Then he would pull another 4 people aside and they would come back and the whole thing would happen over and over, right? And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Well, eventually he gets me and a few other guys and we go into this room and this guy starts fake crying, which by the way, he can do, I guess, like on command, which was impressive, honestly. He starts like fake crying, telling us how like the past few months we haven't seen him. He hasn't been playing games. It's because he's going through this horrible, health crisis and the doctors can't figure out what's going on and it doesn't look good. And it looks like maybe he only might have about a year to live. And it was like, everybody was silent. It's like, how do we even respond to that? If anybody else at this party had said this to me, like the whole party would have been shut down. It would have been a big deal. Like we're hanging out in a group of our closest friends. If anybody else had said this, it would have been a massive reaction, life-altering event, right? But since it was this guy, people were like, "Oh my God, dude. Wow. We're sorry to hear that. Well, let us know if we can do anything." And then just like went back to blasting music and drinking. Like he got no reaction. Everybody knew it was bullshit. But this is when it really turned to the point where it was like, I think everybody was done with it, myself included. Like after this, I was like, all right, dude, like I'm not doing anything for this guy anymore. I'm not going to be reaching out. I'm not going to be inviting him to things. This was where I drew the line. And honestly, I should have jumped way back and drew the line way before this. But for some reason, it took him telling us he was going to die and using his own life to gain fake sympathy and attention from us. Wild, right? And I just want to emphasize the point again that when he wasn't lying, because there was multiple times, throughout this time period of knowing him where we would hang out or have a party and he would come and he wouldn't do this. Like no lie would come out of his mouth and he was just enjoyable to be around. So if that guy was always who he was, then we would be still really good friends to this day. And I wish that was the case. I really do. I don't know why he's so determined on on lying. I mean, I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it. I guess that's just what pathological lying is. Anyways, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Peace.